Jadakiss, Mace, and Mark Curry have all been warning us for years about Diddy's keeping his own artists under a contract so tight and twisted, but it wasn't until a guy like 50 Cent pulled up and exposed just how wrong Diddy did all the people around him. 11 years Curtis told us that Puff's empire was built on broken promises, bad deals, and silenced voices. When it comes to calling people out, nobody does it like 50 Cent.
Sorry I can no longer help you guys. Soon you will all be gay and happy. You are all now left under leadership of Puffy Daddy. Report to the nearest rainbow. Dinner Thieves in theaters January.
He's not just petty, he's surgical. And when the cracks in Diddy's empire finally started showing, 50 didn't hold back. He hopped online and basically said, "See? I've been told y'all this man was dirty." Every other day we see posts such as this one pop up on 50's IG page. What's the spread on this? I got Diddy doing 20. His friends just got the fucks away from him. SMH. Bad boy dangerous. And he wasn't lying. For years, the industry quietly tolerated Diddy's shady deals and sketchy treatment of artists. But until 50 Cent started dragging him online, in interviews, and even threatening to put it all in a Netflix doc, that's when the conversation finally shifted. Suddenly, the stuff people used to whisper about behind closed doors is now the talk of the town.
I feel like all these years, you've been the only one calling this out.
I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long time.
They said you're a hater. They said you're crazy.
You're do this, yeah. And now everybody's complaining. My ass is hurting. There's all this shit that's coming.
And the beef, or whatever you want to call it, between 50 and Diddy isn't new. It's been brewing for over 2 decades. We're talking diss records, slick comments on radio shows, and non-stop trolling on social media. 50's been calling Diddy out since the early 2000s, accusing him of being everything from a culture vulture to a predator in a shiny suit. And while some folks used to laugh it off as just 50 being messy, it's clear now that this wasn't just petty drama. This was foreshadowing. When all those lawsuits started piling up against Diddy, 50 saw his moment and he ran with it. He's been reposting court docs, mocking Diddy's legal troubles, and clowning anybody who still defends him. One minute he's making memes, the next he's threatening to drop a docuseries. And get this, during Diddy's ongoing federal trial, one of his former assistants, Capricorn Clark, got up on that stand and testified about Diddy's violent, unhinged behavior. She even claimed Diddy made veiled threats involving guns after she did a press event with 50. That feud was personal, and clearly Diddy saw 50 as a threat long before this case ever went public. But what makes 50's takedown so powerful isn't just the jokes, it's the truth behind them. Diddy's track record with artists has been shaky for decades. The list of people who've accused him of shady contracts and financial manipulation is long and loud. 112 complained about royalties. Mace said Diddy locked him into a baby deal and refused to give back his publishing. The LOX literally had to threaten him on air to get their rights back. And Mark Curry wrote a whole book about how Puff played him. The pattern is clear. Artists under Diddy don't flourish, they fumble. And that's where 50 comes in. He's the one celebrity who's rich, powerful, and petty enough to say what everybody else was too scared to say. That Diddy didn't just mistreat 1 or 2 people. He built an entire brand off using artists like they're disposable. Now, of course, some folks say 50's just stirring the pot for clout, that he's using Diddy's downfall to boost his own name. And sure, 50's gonna 50. We all know he loves a messy headline, but let's not act like he's lying. If the court cases, testimonies, and public meltdowns are telling us anything, it's that the truth is finally catching up to Diddy, and 50 is just the loudest one laughing. But even before the lawsuits, the raids, and before 50 had his trolling era, Diddy already had a reputation that was dirty. Diddy was a controversial figure in the music biz, not because of his hits, but because of how he ran his empire. It all started with Bad Boy Records. Back in the early 90s, Puff was that guy. Fresh out of Uptown Records. Fired, mind you. He flipped the script and started Bad Boy in 1993. Within a year, he signed Craig Mack and the Notorious B.I.G., and the label exploded. Billboard hits, iconic music videos, flashy fashion. Bad Boy owned the airwaves. And to the public, Diddy was a genius. But behind the glitz and Grammys, there was a much darker pattern forming. It started to become real obvious, real fast. Artists under Diddy would blow up, but they rarely lasted. They'd come in hungry, get molded into a radio-friendly version of themselves, and once the hype wore off, it was crickets. No support, no money, and definitely no ownership. Craig Mack literally helped launch Bad Boy with Flava in Ya Ear. But right after that, he basically disappeared. Reports say he was frustrated with his contract and how Puff played favorites, especially when Biggie started to pop. Then we got Black Rob, who gave us Whoa! But instead of long-term success, he ended up broke and in poor health, calling out Bad Boy in interviews for abandoning him when things got tough. Even Biggie wasn't exempt from the drama. There have been long-standing rumors that his business dealings weren't exactly airtight. Some folks close to Biggie have hinted that his estate didn't benefit nearly as much as it should have, considering the global impact of his legacy. And we can't forget how Biggie's mom feels about the whole situation because she hates Diddy and anyone associated with him.
Maybe I would strangle him because, you know, some of some of his associates, I still want to strangle them.
And it didn't stop there. From Total to 112, Faith Evans to Danity Kane, the pattern repeated over and over. Signed to Bad Boy, get a little shine, and then nothing. But by the early 2000s, folks were fed up. And that's when the public pushback really began, and it all started with Maze.
So you're saying you don't steal from artists is what you're saying?
Never.
So how does a narrative like that happen with so many different people?
If we're talking about the cracks in Diddy's black excellence empire, we have to talk about Maze. Mace was the first one who really stepped forward and said that something about Puff just ain't right. And the way he exposed the business behind the music set the tone for everything that's happening now.
And everybody else, you may sign paperwork so they can't talk about what I'm talking about. I'm the only one with the guts.
But before it came to this, Maze was that guy. In the late 90s, he was smooth, fly, and right up there next to Puff in those shiny suits. He gave Bad Boy that clean commercial edge. But then, he suddenly quit music in 1999, and everybody left wondering what really happened. Well, turns out Mace wasn't just running from fame. He was running from Diddy. Years later, he opened up and said he felt trapped, like he was being spiritually drained and financially robbed.
Everything now that we see playing out was all the things I escaped. The car, the shine, the loan, the Puff Daddy.
He even called his contract oppressive. In case you didn't know, he offered Diddy $2 million just to get his publishing rights back. That's way more than what he originally got paid. And guess what? Diddy said no. In fact, Diddy went on Breakfast Club and had the nerve to say that Mace still owes him and not the other way around.
So how much money does somebody like a Mace owe you? Because the reason I
Mace
say that,
owes me $3 million. That's facts. I got the receipt.
But Mace didn't just suffer in silence. He spoke up, and in ways that couldn't be ignored. One of the most iconic moments? Back in 2009, he pulled up on Diddy during a live radio interview with legal papers in hand, demanding to be released from Bad Boy. And get this, Diddy actually signed it on air, but the release was only partial. Nothing new for Diddy and shady ways. Then in 2020, Diddy gave that big old speech about empowering black artists, talking about black excellence and all that, and Mace was not here for it. He clapped back hard, saying, "You keep screaming black excellence and love, but I know the truth. You sold me out." What made Mace's story hit so hard is that it wasn't just personal, it exposed a pattern. He basically said that everyone thinks that Puff is this genius mogul. But behind the scenes, artists are broke, bound by contracts, and begging for ownership. Not long after, the LOX came forward with their own drama. Picture this. It's 1996, and the LOX, Jadakiss, Styles P, and Chic Looch, just signed to Bad Boy. Now keep in mind, these were street dudes. Hardcore, bar-heavy, grimy flows. But Bad Boy was all about the flashy vibes, shiny suits, choreo in the music videos, radio-friendly hooks. You can already see where this could go wrong. The LOX were getting boxed in creatively, and it showed. You could feel the tension bubbling. By 1999, the LOX had had enough. They wanted out of Bad Boy so they could run with Rough Riders who actually let them be themselves. But of course, Diddy had something to say about that. He locked them down in contracts so tight, they might as well have been handcuffed. So what did the LOX do? They took it public. They went on the radio, wore "Number Let the LOX Go" shirts, aired Puff out to anybody who would listen. They even said straight up, Diddy was robbing them, taking their publishing, choking their creativity, and holding their careers hostage. It got so bad, they had to call him out on Hot 97, and it was heated.
You gotta get on the radio and do certain tactics and do certain things to ever holler at me. Jadakiss, last time I saw you, I told you, let's get together, let's talk. You know what I'm saying? Holler at me, but don't sit here and portray like Puff took nothing from y'all.
What is it then? What is it? What do you call it? What do you call it? What do you call it?
Jadakiss later admitted that fighting in court wasn't an option. Diddy had money, lawyers, and connections. So instead of playing his game, the LOX took it to the people. And guess what? It worked. The pressure got so real that Rough Riders had to step in and buy them out of their contract for $2 million plus royalties from Jadakiss's solo album. That's how deep it was. Just to get free, they needed a whole movement and a multi-million-dollar buyout. And while Jada later said Puff could have made it worse, the damage was already done. That bitterness stuck for years to come. But the LOX showed other artists that you can fight back even when you're up against a music giant like Diddy. And other former bad boy artists had different approaches, like Mark Curry, who dropped a whole book. If y'all don't remember Mark Curry, he was one of the original Bad Boy Soldiers, featured on that classic Bad Boy for Life track back when Diddy had everybody rocking shiny suits and throwing money in the air. But once the cameras stopped rolling, Mark saw the ugly side of the glam. Instead of disappearing quietly like so many others, Mark did something different. He dropped a whole book in 2009 called Dancing with the Devil: How Puff Burned the Bad Boys of Hip Hop. And this book was messy, juicy, and exposing all in one. Mark stepped into his receipts guy era before social media even had a name for it. He spent almost a decade watching how Diddy operated, and when he had enough, he put the entire game on blast. Mark says Puff had his hands in everything. Even if Diddy didn't write a word, he'd still slap his name on a song to get those publishing checks. You'd write a hit, and Diddy would be like, "Thanks, I'll take 40%. According to Mark, those flashy chains and Bentleys, mostly rented. Meanwhile, artists were being charged for studio time, hotel rooms, flights, everything. So when them checks came, it was giving $0 after expenses. Not to mention, Puff owned the identity of his artists. Curry said if you were signed to Bad Boy, Diddy didn't just own your music, he owned you, your image, your name, your entire brand. So if you tried to walk away and do your own thing, you'd basically be starting from scratch. To put it simply, the book literally described Bad Boy as a shell game, a place where contracts were designed to drain dreams and trap talent. Not a label, but a legal maze. What made this book even more real was that Mark wasn't bitter. He was strategic. He said the reason he wrote the book was to warn future artists, to stop them from ending up broke, locked up, or worse. And he was ahead of his time. And he understood the risks. That's why he said that if something happens to him, it's probably Puff that did it.
You ever see anything happen like that with me, you already know. But it won't always happen.
And Mark said all those things back in 2009 for a good reason. If you think about it, a lot of the stuff he said back in the day is the same stuff people are just now piecing together. Mace later came out talking about shady publishing deals. The LOX had to fight to get out of their contract. And 50 Cent straight up called Diddy's deals enslavement. So yeah, Mark was sounding the alarm way before it was cool. And let's be real, 50 Cent said what had to be said. Say what you want about him, but when it comes to the industry, that man's got a sixth sense for spotting BS. When he started calling out Diddy's shady business, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came from a long trail of broken deals, silent screams, and artists left in the dust. From Mark Curry's book to the LOX's contract wars, to Mace literally begging to buy his publishing back. The writing's been on the wall for decades. People just didn't want to read it. They were too busy watching the glitz and glam, the yachts and champagne, the all-white parties with the A-list guests. But behind all the fancy cars and the jewelry, there were stories of control, manipulation, and exploitation. The type of pain money can't cover. 50's not the first one to say it, but he might be the loudest. And sometimes, loud is what it takes to shake people awake. Because Mark Curry tried to warn us. He told us the system was broken, that artists weren't being nurtured, they were being drained. That Bad Boy wasn't a family, it was a machine. And when he dropped Dancing with the Devil, most people shrugged it off like he was just bitter. But now with everything unraveling, it's clear he wasn't hating. He was telling the truth. The truth is, 50 didn't just expose Puffy. He amplified a cry for help that's been echoing from every corner of Bad Boy for the last 30 years. And people are finally listening. Now we want to hear from y'all. Do you think 50 was just being petty? Or was he finally saying what everybody else was too scared to? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this convo is far from over. We're digging even deeper in the next video. And trust, the receipts on Puffy only get messier. So, don't miss it. Hit that next video and buckle up, because the truth is still unfolding.